Welcome to the Auto Fixation podcast, a production of The Loud Pedal at theloudpedalblog.com. Hosted by Mark Faruk, Matt Powers and Andrew Langley.
Welcome everyone to a special episode of the Auto Fixation podcast. Special for a couple reasons. First, we've got our Loud Pedal content creator, co-founder with us, Andrew Langley, finally decided to join the podcast world.
Fire.
And then our second excitement is we've got a special guest today that we're going to be interviewing. He's a Formula Drift pro driver, drifting coach. He was a competitor of the Netflix show Hyperdrive. He's a manager at Sonoma Drift. He was, for a brief moment, a Human Torch. But most of all, he's a really, really nice guy. Everyone, welcome Faruk Kugay.
What's up, guys?
Yeah, thanks for being
Thanks for
here.
having me on.
This is great.
Nice to have you.
What got you started in this? What was the moment? I've seen references to you made a trip when you were younger to Sonoma Raceway and you were hooked. Kind of describe that experience and what got you into this.
Yeah, it was a schoolmate's father that, we would go over to his house to play with kids' toys or whatever. We were probably like 7 or 8. And he'd always have these motorcycles in the garage. And one weekend, he was like, "Hey, I'm going to take the kids out to the racetrack." And I was so pumped about it because it's one of those kids, like many others, that had hundreds and hundreds of little toy matchboxes and things that we would destroy on the carpet of our parents' houses. And they brought us out there, and I experienced, to the best of my knowledge, good guys drag racing. And it was 4th of July, and the spectacle I remember was, we were standing at the start line, and they have this jet. I'm about 10 years old here, and they have this jet dragster lined up at the start line, and they got it all glowing, and I have no idea what's going on. I'm a kid, and I'm like, what's going on here? And then they have this MiG that comes around and drag races it down the drag strip, and it was the most amazing thing I've ever seen. I'd like to see it even at this age, and I was hooked. I was like, this is incredible. I don't know what is going on, but this is phenomenal, and I got to do more of this in my life. So,
which track was that for? Where was
that? Was at Sonoma.
That was in Sonoma.
Yeah, I'm going to age myself. So 1993. That was like, yeah,
was that still Sears Point or was that Infineon?
I think it was Sears Point.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, I think but, so. Sears Point back then. Yeah.
If you're going to date yourself, I'll date me.
Yep. So that got me hooked, and then when I got older, I just couldn't wait to drive. And it's funny because I actually let this cat out of the bag recently. Our first car, I was born in Poland. My father's Turkish, my mother's Polish, and our first car that we bought new in the States was a 1986 Toyota cargo van, and there was one of the conversion ones where it had seats in the back. And not many people know this because there's no reason to, but they're rear-wheel drive. And they do phenomenal one-leg burnouts. It's finding the wonders of rear-wheel drive in high school, and it was it just spawned this passion of hooning and doing fun and dumb things in cars together with good friends, and it progressed from there into drifting. So
that's awesome. So Powers told me a few weeks ago about using lunch trays. Was that what it was, Powers?
On front-wheel drive cars. You could back them up. But yeah, you're nodding your head. You've done this. So you back them up on a lunch tray.
I wanted to for ages, but I've never done that. But it sounds like a horribly good time.
We want some listeners out there to send us videos of them doing it. That's what we're trying. We're trying to inspire this. Get people back up on the trays to start whipping them.
So connected to that. You saw this drag event, and I agree with you. If I saw that today, that would be incredible. I want to see it again. Yeah, I've seen
Who won? Who won? It was the MiG, right?
It doesn't. Yeah,
it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
No, that's when you go to drift events, it really doesn't matter who wins. It's just the spectacle of it, and that's I think what's more than just you would watch Formula One in the 90s on TV, and you'd see things sparking, and you try to follow as well as you can when you're a kid, and all that's kind of it gets convoluted. The entertainment of it and the passion of motorsports is what really translated And I think what also spawned my passion for drifting, where it doesn't really matter who wins. It's not a race. It's more of if you think about the best way to enjoy a car, drifting's way up there. There's few cooler, more fun things that you can do in a car than drifting. So.
Yeah, Mark was telling me recently that he went out there and it was a blast. You're just getting thrown side to side. Yeah. It's so much smoke and noise, and it's just like a pure visceral experience.
Yeah, no, it's so true. You don't have to know who wins or how things are scored. It is a spectacle, and every moment is just like you connected me the first time I was there to do a ride along. And that was it was only a couple of laps around, but man, I
before you slapped it.
Yeah, before we almost hit the
which
wall.
Was hot. I'm like, it's dead.
Somebody else did it.
It was supposed to be fun.
But no, that was amazing. I still think about that.
That night was messed up because Faruk, he took us around. Oh, it was mild mannered, nice guy. We met him up in the shop. He's talking about he's really just calm, down to earth guy. Then we get in a Prius of all the vehicles, and he's like, hey Joan, hey Jane, making sure to your credit, man, I've never seen. I know what you had your thumb on every single thing that was going on that night. Like the amount of control you had over like that whole thing. I was like, this guy doesn't make enough money to do this. You were just, this is obviously something you do because it's in your DNA. So I was terribly impressed by it, but you really kind of screwed us because you started us off at this low heartbeat kind of thing. And then we're going to go on the other track and we'll just do it. But you're doing it in a Prius. I think we got off road a couple times, but then after that, yeah, that was it was hard for me because I wasn't used to the sound of screeching tires is something that happens before an accident. And and every time I hear that, and I've been to a couple of the events down there, and it's really hard to turn that off. Right.
Yep.
That's
right on.
Yeah, you really screwed us up.
Moment. Yep.
Yeah. But it was definitely worth it. I think even if you don't plan on following drift for the rest of your life, you absolutely owe it to yourself to go check out an event.
So wait, hold on. The drifting was in the Prius?
No.
I was going to say that's
he was
incredible.
He was mild-mannered organizer, making sure everything was in its place, making sure all the marshals were in place, making sure everybody knew what the event, what the staging and everything was going to be, and where people should line up, tech inspection, all that stuff. He was.
Yeah, but
I was like, "Are you going to have fun too at some point?" But he
but this just does bring up something that your work car, is it a daily driver? Or is it just for the word? Daily driver is a Prius, and you love it. It fits all the needs. Any comments about that? Because I think most people would think, Formula Drift driver doing this drifting thing. Oh man, he's just tearing up the streets in whatever creation he's made. Most people wouldn't think, Prius.
Yeah, so I have criteria for a daily driver that it must get 40 miles to the gallon and be able to fit a motor in it. And the cars that meet those two criteria, being able to fit a motor in it and then also get 40 miles to the gallon, are far and few between. So I recently put an S54 in the back of it, and I posted like, "Hey, do you guys have any other?" I'm bored of it, right? I'm a little bit this is my 6th Prius, so
wow.
When the catalytic converter gets cut out of it, it's purchased again, right? That's
yeah, exactly. Or one actually got totaled because when they cut the cat off, they saw it into the floor, which is fun.
Don't let that stop you. That's just more fun.
Yeah, right. So it's I don't know. We'll see if it the next daily is like a Volkswagen TDI or I don't know, like a diesel BMW. But they're honestly, with the reliability and how many miles I do, it's a pretty good car for what it is. Yeah. Not excited in any way.
My neighbor had her cat cut out probably a few weeks ago and didn't realize. And she's like, the car's making a lot of noise, and just like took off down the road. People were like flagging her down. Like, you gotta stop. Yep. It's crazy. It's really crazy. Gotta park it in the garage. What's that behind you, Faruk? I see in your
Prius
garage. Yeah, it does not look like a Prius.
Not a Prius.
That's just a Prius with a bunch of stickers on it. Exactly. Yeah. That's one of the drift cars. 2J S14. So that one's what I consider my pro car. I'm not doing FD. I didn't do it last year. I'm not doing it this year. We'll see if I end up going back. But I had a little mini human last year, so
we
took
saw
the year
that.
off.
Congrats.
Yeah, congratulations.
And I'm doing a series out in Florida this year called Clutch Kickers. So that's more of a fun event. A lot of drivers we're going to be competing at the Freedom Factory, which is Cletus McFarland's track that he bought in Florida. And so I'm going to fly out there for that. Still doing Good Life and a bunch of other cool, fun activations, and just really having fun with it. The demands of FD are a little bit wild, where 8 rounds is essentially 2 months that you take off of work and family, and it's a bit intense to say the least.
Yeah.
How did you get sponsors for that? And is that how you're able to do it, or you self-fund it? Like, how does that work? How does somebody get to that level?
It's anything and everything, right? You sell used parts, you deliver pizzas at night, you work as many jobs as your partner will let you, and you just do it. I've done it. I went pro in 2016, and I've done it the years that I could afford it, right? So some years that my car just wasn't up to snuff, I had to get the car back up to shape and do demos and that kind of fun stuff. And I don't come from a racing background, I don't come from wealth by any means. And so I just did it, whatever I needed to do it, I did.
Yeah, it's interesting because, I think a lot of people think motorsports, it's, you have to be, have to come from money and, be well-heeled and stuff like that. But I think if you're really into it, it's really your passion, you can probably make it work. I don't think anybody's going to go, from nothing to be, to fund a Formula One team. But there are levels where you can compete regardless of what your financial means are, right?
Yep. This might be a division point, but I'm definitely a Lewis Hamilton for that fan for that reason. And it's,
okay.
Right,
sorry guys.
Sorry,
right? It was a good podcast, but yeah, exactly. So I think that if you try hard enough and you really have some conviction, you can do kind of anything in motorsports you want to do.
Totally.
Well, I can't speak for professionally because I'm not a race car driver, but what struck me about your event, I can't remember what night it was. We were there. It's a weeknight, and they had the drag strip going, and you guys had your thing going. I have 90+% of these people drove the car in that they were going to race, and they were going to drive it home. So maybe we segue into asking you about if drifting is something you want to try or do. What's the best way to do it? What's the best car? What are the smart things to do to not make an ass of yourself, to do it safely, and to do it affordably so that you can do it again?
So if you have a bone stock car, let's say you go out there and get a rear wheel drive car. What's your favorite modern rear wheel drive car?
They have those now?
Yeah, right. Okay, so let's say you go get yourself a 350Z.
Yeah.
Perfect. It could be automatic or manual, preferably manual, right? But if you're a beginner just trying to learn how to do donuts, bring it out, right? And we have a donut pad that's rather large. It's safe. There's fire and safety on site, and you can go out there and just try it, right? You just need if the car is stock, it'll actually pass tech, funny enough, completely with stock seats, stock seatbelt, and everything. When people start to modify things, and they do it incorrectly, that's when cars actually fail tech. So, having a battery tied down in the OEM location, that's totally fine. When you start putting ratchet straps on it, that's when it fails. But when we just require that people have a neck brace and a helmet. That is for motorsports, not for motorcycles. And you can go out there and start learning how to do donuts.
What kind of tires? You can come out with your stock tires. Issues, no? You're just going to burn through them.
Now, Powers,
you're going to burn through them. But
now, Powers, I hear you like to do these things without a helmet. Is that true?
What's that?
Say it again.
I said I was talking to Matt Powers that he likes to do his motorsports without a helmet. Is that correct?
You put a lot of gel in your hair, and then that's good enough.
Right?
That's the trick, man.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that's not an option.
That's the safety third theory. No, we don't do that. That's a bad idea.
and it's a good mix. You know, you have guys that are, you know, track enthusiasts, car enthusiasts like yourselves that want to try getting sideways because it also gives you a lot of knowledge in car control. You know, that the first time a car gets sideways, unintentionally, it's usually a freak out moment for people. And if you've done it intentionally or maybe half intentionally on a skid pad, at least you're prepared for what to come in the future. And
I 100% agree with that. Sorry, I don't want to cut you off, but like in high school, driving like an idiot, you know, and doing donuts with my friends and stuff like that. When I would actually get in situations driving out on the road, you really do know how to control a car. Like you're 100% right on that. I think it's a valuable lesson for somebody to learn. Like, what does the car feel like when it's going sideways? You know, in different positions you're not used to. Because you're right. Otherwise, you're going to freak out and you're going to do the wrong thing. You're not going to turn into it or whatever it is you need to do.
So I've run a lot of drift schools in the past 15, 20 years around the United States and the world. And one of the most prevalent things has been when we do our introduction to drifting course, the women are usually the best learners because they actually listen and don't feel like they already know everything. And so they just listen to the instruction and they execute amazingly. And it really... We've gotten like feedback in the past, like, hey, when we're in the snow now we know what to do. You know what I mean? When the car's a little bit uneasy, and it's car control. You know, there are countries around the world that actually teach this kind of stuff. Unfortunately, ours is not one of them. But you know, it's definitely good to know the skill set. And on the flip side, you also have the guys that go out to sideshows and do things illegally, and it gives them a place that they can slowly stop doing that, right? And gives them a home where they also can progress their driving because, you know, everyone's done something dumb in a car. Like everyone that's a car enthusiast has done something dumb in a car at some point. And hopefully our program makes them feel like they have a safe place where they can not do that, where they're jeopardizing other people's health and, you know, their own license.
To be clear, mine was always in warehouses, at the back of warehouses.
Yeah.
So it's still not a great location. Still not a great location. It would have been much better to have gone to Sonoma, but just
yeah.
So you brought up, like you said, folks that may be doing sideshows or racing on the street and having a forum to do this in a safe way. I was going to add, I think, and correct me, that if you want to come out to Sonoma Drift and be a competitor, is it $30, $50?
50.
50.
Yeah, it's $50.
So $50, you can, and depending on skill level, right, be in the donut box, which is one of my favorite terms ever.
Yep.
Or on one of the multiple drift tracks. It just seems like there are a lot worse things you could do for a lot more money. Than $50 on a Wednesday and shred some tires. This was something we were talking about the other night, though, related to the consumable side of drifting. Having been to Winter Jam, where you have this broad spectrum of the low end, where you can tell some guy is just doing it in his garage, scraping together change, and then like the top level teams. If you're on the low end of this, how do you come up with money for tires? Where do you get tires from? Is
Costco
or something?
It's some used tires. I'm sure people come out with used tires.
Yeah,
used tires.
Yep, people do buy used tires. There's also, I mean, it's without giving anyone false hope. But you can get through a night of tire.
I've been going on false hope for years. Keep it going.
This is motorsports. Everything's on false hope.
Yes.
But you can get through a whole night of drifting on one set of tires if you plan. So I have a few cars, and I'll describe three of them to you. Right, the one behind me makes 935 horsepower at mid boost. That goes through a set of tires in 2 laps. And then I have what we call my street car, which we're working on making street legal. It's a 2J powered S13, makes 400 horsepower to the wheels. And that goes about 15 laps on a set of tires. And then I have a 330 that is bone stock mechanically, completely bone stock. But it has a cage and it has all the safety requirements that's needed to tandem. And it makes, I don't know, we've never dynoed it. 160, maybe 190 horsepower. And it will go 2 weeks on a set of tires. And so you just lap after lap after lap after lap. And, you know, the tires cost you, I think we get them on Walmart for like $80 a piece. You know what I mean? And so for $160, you're having 2 weeks of fun on tires. I mean, the fuel, you know, you add that in, but it then becomes affordable depending on how you plan it. And honestly, the most entertainment out of all three cars on a Wednesday night is actually the middle one, the 400 horsepower car, because with the Pro car, this has an interesting motor. It's got a lot of ring gap in it for the direct port nitrous. And so it fills catch cans when it's not hot enough. And it's not fun to drive on a Wednesday night because I'm waiting in line, then you hit it and the tires get cold again. It takes a little circus to make this thing run, but it's a lot of fun when it does. I compare it to the green car that I run, the street car. I compare that to going to the local bar with your buddies and having a beer. And then this thing's going to Vegas. So those are two trips that everybody loves doing, but there's a time and a place for both.
So why do you get a different tire life? It's just the physics. It's just how fast the tire is spinning. Is that what
exactly
affects it? So
yeah.
in the higher horsepower,
that's part of it. Yep. And the horsepower is able to spin that. So I can do, let's do a paddock course where if I am in third gear, or let's say in the 330 or the S13, I'm in second gear or possibly low end of third gear in the S13. In this car, if I do second gear, I'm just hitting the limiter nonstop because it has so much power that with that gear ratio, it's I don't know, not controllable, but even less fun for lack of a better description, you know? So you kind of have to be in third gear, and your wheel speed's crazy and just blows the tires off the car.
Wow.
Yeah.
That reminds me that the first night that we went, we saw a lot of people at a lot of different skill levels take a lot of different cars in the donut box, but there was a middle-aged guy in a first generation RX-7.
Yeah. Red one?
Red one, yeah.
That was
absolute, super good. Yeah.
That was absolute poetry. Like, it was so quiet and controlled, and he was just kind of doing his thing. I don't even think people noticed it. I don't even think the people who were there to like watch drifting really saw like this guy was just killing it.
Yeah,
but
he's incredible. Yeah,
man, that's not 150 horsepower.
Yeah, maybe right on a good day, right? And he was a lot stock. Yeah, and I mean probably 14s or 15s on it, right?
Yeah,
and not a lot of wheel speed, but he's having a blast, right?
He understood physics. He understood weight transfer. He just got it.
And going back to like what you learn when we drive the 330, the 330 doesn't have an aftermarket e-brake, so it's just really just balancing the car and balancing the throttle, and it's tons of fun. You got to work on the line. You got to work on steering input. You make one mistake, the car falls out of drift. You know, and it's a lot of fun.
And you just turn the traction control off. That disables it, and that's all you need, huh?
Yep. So, I mean, a popular first car for people is the car I mentioned earlier, the 350Z. There's a lot of cars in the industry which are between 200 and 300 horsepower that they're awesome. It's
Beamers,
all you really need to have.
3 Series Beamers. Yeah, you see a lot of those.
Yep. So what are you going to buy for your first drift car?
Right.
Right?
Yep. I'm going to live through you. That's it.
Yeah. I think he's got some Hot Wheels.
One of them. We got to actually have you try. Have you done donuts yet?
No. Nope.
All right.
Not intentionally. I mean, once or twice in high school. That
330's waiting for you.
I don't know. I'm a voyeur, really. Mark and I have been going to races. No, Mark and I have gone to races and stuff for 20 years. I can count on less than one hand how many times I go on the test drives with him. I just don't do it. I just like to be around cars. I like mechanical things. I like the people. I like all this. I like the experience of it, but I never had the dream to fly. I'm just not that guy. I like to watch.
He likes to watch.
I like it. It's fine. I like, and you know what? I like to watch. I like to experience. And I was going to say, watching first timers or people who haven't done a lot of drifting, you can see it when they get in there. They get in the seat. They get you're kind of tensed up and everything.
Yeah.
And they do that first few seconds of braking traction. It must be like crack. because they will just sit there and do it. And that's their, they're paying for clutch and they're paying for tires and all this stuff. But like they will do it and do it and do it. It just must grab you in the right place and shake you, because I just seen people make so many bad decisions, but they can't be having more fun.
Yeah. On Wednesday nights, we run 3 tracks, right? We run the donut pad, then we run on the road course between turn 2 and 4 at Sonoma Raceway. And then we also run in the paddock. So before 6, we run on the road course. 4 to 6, we run on the road course. 7 to 10, we run on the paddock. And those guys, those first timer guys that like come week after week after week, and usually have, the lower horsepower cars. The first time they link what we call Summer Jam, it's the name of the course that we've named the course Summer Jam between 2 and 4. Mm-hmm. It's tricky, right? It's fast. You're on a road course. There's
it's not the donut box.
It's not the donut box. It's
completely different.
And the first time a guy links that, to see the euphoria and sense of accomplishment is the best thing ever. It makes any kind of perils that I have in event organizing worth it.
And you do it in both directions, right?
No, we do that one singular. We do that because,
in the regular race direction of the track?
Regular race direction. They actually paved a return road. I'd like to say for us, it was probably more for NASCAR, but there's an escape, right?
Yeah.
There's an escape road between 5 and 2 that they paved, and that we hot lap it. So we drift 2 to 4, and then people shut down. They get back in line, and it's a blast.
People in NASCARs can't do that turn, or can't do that complex. Seriously, I mean that's where all the fun is.
Yeah. So when I was
there, have you watched NASCAR at Sonoma? It's funny because I definitely make fun of stock car racers a bit until I really watched them run at Sonoma, and it's they get wild. They get wild through like the S's. There's
chrome horns.
Having a couple of good old boys, bump doors around the S's is a lot of entertainment.
Yeah, I was out for Winter Jam back in December, and so I was there at that course watching. And the funny thing I find about drifting overall is not only what you said, when the person doing it gets it right, how satisfied they are, but as a viewer, you almost share in the same satisfaction because you witness the person hooking it together as well. And you're like, man, like I felt like happy for people, like genuinely like, man, that is awesome. Like great. I wanted to like congratulate them because you watch them practice and like try to get it right. And you see where, okay, that you can tell they're not quite happy. And then the time they nail it, you feel like you're part of this whole experience, even as an observer, that you were part of their success.
So what does nailing it look like? As somebody who's not real knowledgeable about the sport, I mean, I've seen videos of it, obviously. So, but how do you describe it? Like what
so let's say you at your warehouse, right? Let's say 5 years ago, right?
last month.
When he was a kid, young man.
As a young man, as a wee lad, back in the warehouse days, you would set up 3 garbage cans, and you went right, and you slid right around one, slid left around the other, and then slid right around the other one. That would be linking 3 corners, right? You would probably think you're the bee's knees if you had done that, right?
That's not what Matt Powers was doing. That's not what Matt Powers was doing at all.
Right? But the level of, I guess, car control that's necessary for even that basic maneuver is amazing, right? I mean, you really are understanding the yaw rotation of the car. You understand the weight balance, and you're able to truly control a car. A lot of us just drive these cars around and barely feel what's going on, and there's a sensory disconnect, right? And when you link this large, massive piece of machinery to your consciousness, there's definitely a lot of good times had.
And then does it put stress on the car? I mean, is it within the tolerance of the car coming from the factory, or I mean, I don't know.
Great question. So I dealt with this a lot. We ran a school in Turkey. I ran the school there between 2007 around 2011 is when I started leaving more often. And in Turkey, it's an interesting place to do this because cars carry essentially 100% tax. So if you import a car, right, you are taxed 100% on the price of that car. So if you buy a $5,000 car, it's now $10,000.
Don't give California any ideas.
It's got me. But especially Matt Powers, he'll import it.
I've been known to import some cars.
So imagine in that world, getting guys to modify their cars for drifting, right? And what's to be done first? The mantra I can tell you from learning from that industry is if your car is in good working order and it doesn't have a ton of power, most likely it will be fine, right? If it's not in good working order, it's going to express those issues, right? So 330 BMW, rear trailer arm bushings that are 20 years old and have 190,000 miles on them, you're going to feel it in drifting more than you even do on the freeway.
Yeah.
If your diff has 120,000 miles on it, it's not going to lock up in drifting either. So having a perfectly running car, most of the time, it's a decent starting platform for drifting. But if it has some wear items, those are going to be very quickly brought to light in drifting.
So what you're saying is that drifting should be part of the routine diagnostics of every person's car, right?
Every test drive should have drifting on it. I don't know why dealerships keep fighting me on this.
So in Turkey, not to get into the drifting weeds, but in Turkey, it has to be a sport of elites, right? Because I would assume not everybody can afford to. Neighborhood kids probably can't double up on a car or technicians, right? So it's when you look at where drag racing was founded, not founded, but let's say where drag racing was popularized 40 years ago, right, in the United States. That's a great example for where drifting essentially has started 20 years ago at this point, right? It's you have guys that can afford the nice cars, that guy that could afford that 69 Camaro in high school, right? And then you have the guy that worked at the shop that built the 40 Ford, right? Right.
And it's a perfect example, right? In Turkey, you have guys that run Sierras, right? And then they go out, also guys that buy pre-prepared cars and then buy those. And that's one nice thing about drifting is that since it's not really a speed sport, when you're not at the top level, the power difference doesn't make that much of a difference, right? If you're trying to have fun and go out and just enjoy yourself. Once you start competing, especially at a really high competitive level, power then and I guess car preparation really makes a difference. But to just have fun with it, really, it's kind of a meeting ground for just car lovers.
I felt that. I felt that every time I've been around a drift car. Mark and I in our travels have been to any number of high end race, like whatever. But you can only buy in so far. I mean, you're more kind of in awe of everything, but you also come to realize that the price of entry into that sport at large is hard. It's steep, and not everyone can do it. Even if you just autocross, autocross trailer, are you gonna trailer it? You're gonna drive it? You're gonna have a full set of tires and wheels, all that stuff. There aren't a lot of accessible, like even go-karting. That's tens of thousands of dollars of layout, even for used equipment. There just aren't a lot of super accessible entries into any kind of motorsport.
And honestly, it's funny. People make fun of me for this sometimes, but like, as long as a person's a car lover, they're kindred spirits, right? Because we go to Cars and Coffee sometimes just to hang out and see what different people are doing in the industry. And it's a great example. Wednesday nights is a great example where you have guys, like you said, that drive to the track, something that's maybe has a couple parts falling off. And then you have full-blown trailered, essentially pro cars that run on Wednesday nights as well. And it's a good community.
You need all of that. You need all of that. You need the excitement of all bells and whistles, matching suits, all that crap. You need that. I firmly believe. Like I said, I'm the voyeur. I want to see all that stuff. But there's also the other end of it where I just want to see. I want to know that this is going to be around tomorrow. This is going to be around in 10 years because it's something that people can actually do. I think that's important. And then when we lose that, which as technology evolves and more plastic is used, we're going to face in all sorts of auto sport. We're going to face this weird, this place where the rubber doesn't meet the road anymore, where the cars are too complex and now they're old and they're crap and the quality of the materials just hasn't stood up to the test of time. We're going to have to deal with all that. So I don't know what's the next 350Z. What's that going to be when you need a computer science degree to, attack the computer to disengage the launch control and traction control and all that crap. We have to. Well, there will come a time.
Well, that raises an interesting issue. I was just thinking about. Faruk, are you seeing at all in the world the entrance of EV powered drift cars or hybrid powered drift cars? Is this kind of technological revolution coming to drifting as it's trying to come to other forms of motorsport?
Lots of torque out there.
There is. So there's a few. It's definitely not popular, but there are examples out there, right? So there's a electric Camaro that a gentleman in FD was piloting for a season. There's some guys on the amateur level drifting like Model 3s. It's by no means popular, but there are examples out there. Can it be done? Sure, why not? I think one of the things that makes the sport so addictive is because it's so visceral, and it's also, you do have to have a certain amount of mechanical knowledge to be able to maintain these things, right? And because as I mentioned earlier, if there is any kind of shortcomings mechanically, drifting will highlight it, and more than not, there are usually shortcomings. So it's you need to. There's a lot of small maintenance that needs to happen, and ingenuity that goes along with maintaining a drift car. So with the electric cars, that's really not an option, and the car has to be quite high level usually in order to be able to be engaging. Yeah.
Hey, so before, we've taken a lot of your time and really appreciate you being with us. This has been great. I wanted to end it with, tell us about Sonoma Drift this year. When is it? Where is it? Tell us why, a lot of folks that come to the drifting events are the younger crowd. Tell us why the middle-aged folks should get in their car and drive an hour from Sacramento.
We did, and it was one of the best things.
Yeah, we think it's awesome.
We've ever done.
But sell it to the people. Sell it to our listeners.
Sure. So I think I've negated,
get off my lawn.
I think I've negated kind of describing what the Wednesday night program is, right? So we run this year. It's 22 Wednesdays. We also have weekend events. Excellent. But 22 Wednesdays. We start at the track goes hot at 4 and goes cold at 10. It's a unique event where it has 114 decibel limit. It's one of the few days at Sonoma that has that high of a decibel limit when it's not unlimited. And we have drag racing on the drag strip and then drifting in the paddock, the donut box, and on the track. And what else are you going to do on a Wednesday that's better than that?
No thanks.
Not much, right? So it's a great way to get out of the house on a Wednesday. It's a great way to just kind of see car culture midweek when you just need a break from everything else going on. There's track food, which is, I'm a fan of the chicken tenders personally. I can't speak for the other meals there, but there's.
I'm sensing we're missing something. We should know about your sketchy food. No.
Yeah. No, it's a lot of fun. What I'm telling you is there's a good place to get dinner and just have fun with it. It's being able to be around like-minded people and just really enjoy a lot of unique builds. The drag racing scene is incredible because you have, fast cars that come out on Wednesdays. I mean, they have 8-second, 9-second cars that come out on Wednesdays, do wheelies down the drag strip. And then you have guys that bring, we haven't really touched on the drag racing program, but if you wanted to bring your daily, you can still drag race it. And the crazy thing is that you could potentially win because they run bracket drags. So what that means is that, let's say I think my Prius is going to run a 19-second quarter mile and I run 19, like 8, 9. Well, the rules are okay. Let's say I dial in 1901 and I run 19 flat all night long. I'll probably win the bracket drags because, it's about consistency, not about speed. And it's a great community where people really can enjoy automotive culture. And this year we're trying to bring in more car meets too. So
we saw trucks with lumber racks. I'm not lying. I think there was a canoe. There might have been a canoe. There was some strict track stuff, trailered and daily driver stuff. We learned a lot that night. Let's just say it like that.
I think there was like a stock F-150 that was on the drag strip. I mean, it was, and then like a few rows behind it was a McLaren 650.
Yeah,
I think there was some Coors too, maybe. No, I don't know. I didn't say that. No Coors.
It's a great way to spend a Wednesday night.
Sure.
When does this season start?
How much? So it's 50 for your event to participate. How much for the rubberneckers who just want to come?
Oh, it's 15 through the door. So it's not less than I think movies are even more than that right now. And if you wanted to actually drive your car down the drag strip, I think it's either 35 or 25. Let's say 35, just so people don't underestimate it. And it's how else can you get on a track for $35, right?
You could have a lot less fun for a lot more money.
Right? Exactly. And it's, if you have kids that are also, this is another fun thing that I've dealt with parents that maybe have kids that really are lacking direction. It's a great way to get them out of the house or away from a screen, and just, under 12 kids are free through the gate. And if your kid's addicted to the iPad, let them watch it on the drive over, and then they'll put that iPad down when they get there.
Can my 12-year-old drive in the donut pad? Is that no?
They really frown on that. Really frown on that.
You have to have a license to drive on track. Either 16 with a parent, or 18 if you don't. Yeah. So, yeah.
When does this season start?
2 weeks.
All right.
Holy moly.
Perfect.
March 2nd is the first Wednesday. If you guys want to see the schedule, it's on Sonoma Raceway's website, or you can go to sonomaraceway.com/Sonoma Drift, and come on out. We're all we try to be as friendly as possible in the midst of fixing our 100%. Cars. When people are firing questions at us when we're underneath the car fixing a tie rod, sometimes answers get short, but in general, people are pretty rad to be around.
Yeah,
I totally agree.
Yeah,
totally
no
concur.
doubt from our experience.
Is there any other like shameless self promotion that you would like to do?
So next week I'm going in conjunction with EK. So EK Fluid Gaming and AMD are taking me out to Vegas to do Level Up, and I've started to move into the sim racing side of things, where we're bringing that street car that I have, and then also a rig that has my car modeled into it in the sim. And we're bringing it out to a gaming conference in Vegas.
Oh, cool.
So
that's really
that's a great way to avoid catching on fire. Sim racing.
Yeah, that
one in Vegas.
So you're referring to 2019?
Yeah,
I call that.
Don't know what you're talking about.
No. Yeah,
I thought that's how everybody did it.
Hold on. It was 4 times. I caught on fire 4 times that year.
Oh, it was 4 times.
Eat your heart out.
It was definitely the most.
That's right.
Yeah, people wonder why my cars have 2 fire extinguishers now. I'm just I'm over any chances of it.
Were you able to salvage them? I saw the video from 19. Were you able to salvage that BMW? Or was that finished?
So I'll tell you. I'll walk through all the fires. My F250 60 caught on fire with me driving it. Oil line came off the turbo. Was quite intense. And then the first time, caught on fire at the Hoonigan, at Hoonigan, had a fuel line come loose in the engine bay.
They paid you to do that, though, right?
Huh? Yeah,
they paid you.
That was all staged. That was all part of the story. Then I caught on fire again at Hoonigan, and the third time was at SEMA, and the car now is being built by my buddy RJ that runs Big Duck Club. So I sold him the chassis, and it was an engine fire. It was an oil fire.
Lightly used chassis.
Cosmetic damage.
Right? It overheated once.
Clean Carfax.
Overheated.
Yeah, the oil fire was. It was a little scary to say the least. Yeah, when you have oil
fires are.
Yeah, they're not hot, but they are very, very
smoky
scary.
And flaming.
Yeah, and but I was okay, and the car is now living a new life, and so yep.
Great. That's awesome.
Cool.
That's awesome. Well, hey, we'll let you go, man. We really appreciate it. This has been great. It's been great talking to you, and we hope to. Powers hasn't been out there yet, so I think now we got to drag him out to see the show, and to see what this is about.
This conversation reminds me of just that night we all spent together. You're just the easiest person to talk to. You're the greatest broker for the game. Like, like we could all just be best buddies. Like you're that guy. And I don't
appreciate it, man. People. Thank you very much. And thank you for the opportunity to talk to me. It's,
absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. And
Cool.
Congratulations again on the little one, and best to you and your family. And we hope to see you out at Sonoma Raceway real soon.
Thanks, guys. Have a great night.
Take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Later.